Okay, so I'm very excited to get to continue my video series of my journey to and through medical school. Today we'll be talking about resident life and being a resident assistant and an AD and my experience of that through college. So let's talk about what drew me to Res Life. So Res Life was an opportunity for me to give back to those around me. Not only that, but it felt like my mission field was home because I lived in the dormitory and my goal was to support those around me. And it was a way for me to give back right away and not wait until the end of my career journey to do so. Only that, but it also had really wonderful draws financially. You got paid while you did your job, but you also got free housing and your meal packages were like some sort of percentage was off, so they were decreased somehow. But before we get into exactly what resident life is and what the world of an RA is, if this is something that you're interested in doing. All right, so let's talk about my experience. So how did I even learn about this? 'Cause a lot of people don't know. I didn't know, actually. I had made a friend. I was in the freshman dormitories. I had made a friend who lived on the first floor. I lived on the second floor. She told me about how she was applying for Res Life, what Res Life was about, why she wanted to do it, and I thought, whoa, this sounds like a lot about what I'm interested in. However, that year, I decided not to apply for it. I was pre-med and I had missed the application, so it just wasn't going to happen for sophomore year, my second year of college. But it was something in the back of my mind that I thought, I would be really good at this. I think I have the skills to do this. It will be challenging, but I would really enjoy it. And so second year went through, it was time to apply. And so I did my application, and I remember going down to the basement of the cafeteria and going into this room. There were 4 people, and it was a group interview with other people there, which was intimidating. And then later, the second round was one-on-one interviews. So I got a call back for a one-on-one. And it went really well, but I got to my results. I did not make resident life the first time. So I go on to my summer courses, just moving along, and I get a call from the director of one of the dormitories saying, I really liked you during your interview. You just had a later interview date and I wasn't able to place you, but we've had someone step out and I would really love for you to come and work for us in resident life. And I was like, yes. At this point I had agreed to live in a house with a bunch of girls. The house is kind of falling apart. It was not the nicest room that I'd be staying in. I didn't feel like I'd be able to focus as much. And I was still pre-med at the time. And so that was how I ended up getting into resident life. So it really wasn't your normal experience going through. But I am a firm believer that when God has called you to something, He equips you and it'll open when He wants you to open. I still got a lot of great experiences from living in that house that summer and getting connected with those friends. And so I didn't lose anything. So at that point, I had to move onto campus and start my journey as a resident assistant. Okay, so now that you know my story, let's talk about what being an RA is and then what an AD is so that you can decide if this is something that you're interested in. All right, so the goals of a resident assistant. So a resident assistant is someone that lives in the dormitory with the freshman or sophomore, however many years that are in the dorms, and you are on that in the dormitory there to support them really. And a couple of key features: the amount of RAs per building is going to be different, and you generally have someone above you called an AD or an assistant director who's then taking care of all of the RAs, and then you have someone above that, which is an director itself, and they maybe will take care of 2 dormitories. So that was the setup for me. So I worked in a sophomore dormitory both years, and that's where I worked. It was an all-girls dormitory. But anyways, let's talk about an RA. So an RA is kind of the first step. So this would be, your goal is to really foster community. And so really that means encouraging connections with other residents there in the dormitory, making sure you have to organize events. So like I did a salsa, like a chips and salsa dance night, so that we had someone come teach us how to salsa, and then we had salsa. That was good. We had a couple other events that I had to organize. You have to promote a very positive and inclusive environment for everybody. And also, you are a support system for the residents. So you're there to listen, to provide guidance, to connect them with campus resources, whether that's tutoring, health, personal, financial resources, really important. Third, and probably the most important, your job is to promote safety and accountability. So your job is to enforce housing rules and the university policies that they sign when they come to the dormitory, and to maintain a safe and respectful environment. This is going to be different for the schools that you work for. I worked for at a Christian university, so we had very strict policies. No alcohol, no drugs, or males in the dormitory unless it was during a visitation, and we had curfew. And so very strict policies there. And so that's going to be an important thing. Are you comfortable with enforcing those and stepping in when you need to? The other thing that I felt was really important was leadership and role modeling. You have to be a positive example of behavior, decision making, and campus involvement. They are looking up to you kind of like a mom in the dormitory. And lastly, if not apart from promoting safety, but really crisis response. So if something medically happens, if there's an emergency or conflict, you'll have to navigate those with the residents. So I remember having several roommate conflicts that I had to go navigate. Had an emergency, someone passed out in a shower once. There was a snake on the loose, so you have to assist in those circumstances. And so apart from those key goals of an RA, let's talk about what that looked like for a pre-med student. How was I able to balance that with my classes? Well, to be honest with you, it's the way that you live. So apart from you had maybe 2 meetings a week that you had to go to that were an hour long, you had to sit at the front desk during like the visitation days and do like front desk work, but you could study during all of that. And then really organizing events didn't take a whole lot of time to do. So really it was doable. I will say it was stressful when you have to go and deal with conflict or maintenance and stuff like that. You also have to get to the dormitory a week early for training, and then you have to check out. So you're gonna have to be moving in and out of the dorm. So I moved a lot during residency. But that's the life of an RA. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great way to give back. You're probably so sick of me hearing that with these jobs, but it's a great opportunity. I would love to answer more questions about being an RA. Let's move on to the job of an AD. So, or an assistant director. So my first year, my junior year, I was a RA, and then my senior year, I was an AD. So what happened with that was the summer in between junior and senior year, I had decided not to do resident life. It was really hard on me. It was very busy. I thought I got a great experience out of it. I would be studying for my MCAT. I wanted to focus on med school. And then I'm sitting in my summer house with my friends, and I get a phone call saying, "Hey Denise, someone had to step out for being an AD, and we really would like for you to take over that position if you're available." And I did. So then I became an AD. My job, I had my own apartment in the dormitory at this point with a full kitchen. My job was to oversee all the residents and make sure they got their things, like all of their things done, their admin. When we talk about admin, you talk about making sure they get their events done, making sure that they do their checks on the residents, all of those things. And then really helping with meetings and other bigger things. So that was a challenge, but I really enjoyed it. It was more of a leadership role, like looking over the RAs and then reporting to the director above you. It was a great experience and a little bit more autonomy, which is great. Less like hands-on with the RAs, like the residents, and more on the RAs. And that was my experience. So that really is my experience in res life. I would love to answer more questions if you have them, as usual. If you're interested in hearing more, please subscribe to my channel. I want to come up with a quote for you today in my handy dandy notebook. And these quotes come from people in college, things that they said to me. So this is not necessarily someone I can quote. Probably should have written their names down. In conflict, most times, is just a difference of opinion. So people can have different opinions and walk through them. And I think that's really important when you're doing conflict resolution with these residents in resident life. And that's why I picked that quote for today. Once again, we'll see you next time.